Let me start with a question, not an accusation. When a Jesuit becomes pope for the first time in history, and when secretive gatherings of cardinals openly call themselves the mafia, is it unreasonable to ask, how does power actually function inside the Vatican? Today, we are going to examine documented facts, public statements, and observable patterns. We will presume good faith on all sides, but we will also follow the evidence wherever it leads. Here are the facts. In 1773, Pope Clement XIV suppressed the Society of Jesus. In 1814, Pius VII restored it. And in 2013, Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio became the first Jesuit ever elected to the papacy. The Jesuit fourth vow is a pledge of absolute obedience to the Pope regarding missions. But here is the question. When the Pope himself is a Jesuit, how does that dynamic function? Observers have noted that Pope Francis appointed fellow Jesuits to key Vatican positions, including Cardinal Gianfranco Ghirlanda, a close advisor, and Father Antonio Spadaro, editor of La Civiltà Cattolica. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply a pattern of trusting those from one's own formation. The question is whether that pattern has shaped church governance in measurable ways. Between 1995 and 2005, a group of progressive cardinals, including Cardinals Carlo Martini, Godfrey de Niels, and Walter Casper, met annually at the St. Gallen Monastery in Switzerland. Their goal, by their own admission, was to prevent a traditionalist papacy. De Niels later told a biographer, "We said of ourselves, the mafia." That is not an accusation. That is his own word. The group favored decentralization, a less rigid sexual ethic, and a more pastoral approach to divorce and remarriage. When Cardinal Bergoglio was elected in 2013, many saw a continuity with those priorities. The question, again, is one of influence. Did the St. Gallen Group prepare the ground for a specific kind of papacy, or were they simply expressing legitimate theological opinions? Reasonable people can disagree. Now, let's look at liturgy. In July 2021, Pope Francis issued Traditionis Custodes, severely restricting the traditional Latin Mass. His stated reason was unity. He believed that the old rite had become a symbol of division. Traditionalists argue that the restrictions have caused deep pain. Who is right? Both sides love the Church. The difference is one of pastoral judgment. Cardinal Arthur Roche, prefect of the Dicastery for Divine Worship, reaffirmed in March 2026 that the restrictions are not about personal preference but about ecclesial unity. Yet data from CARA shows that nearly 18% of active U.S. Catholics have attended a TLM in the past 5 years. Hardly a fringe movement. The question is whether suppressing a growing liturgical tradition actually serves unity or whether it deepens wounds. That is a legitimate debate, not a charge of bad faith. The third area is governance. The synodal process, championed by Pope Francis, encourages listening sessions and local input. Critics see it as a move toward a more democratic, less hierarchical church. Supporters see it as a fulfillment of Vatican II's call for collegiality. Neither view is inherently malicious. What is observable is that the synodal process in Germany produced formal votes in favor of blessing same-sex unions and ordaining women, positions that directly conflict with current Vatican doctrine. The Vatican's response has been measured, neither fully accepting nor fully rejecting the German proposals. This creates uncertainty. And uncertainty, for traditionalists, feels like erosion. Here is the bottom line. We cannot read hearts. We do not know intentions. What we can do is observe patterns. A first Jesuit pope, a network of liberal cardinals who self-identified as a mafia, a systematic restriction of the ancient liturgy, and a synodal process that seems to move the Church toward a more decentralized, less dogmatic future. None of this proves a conspiracy, but it does raise legitimate questions about where the Church is heading. The duty of every faithful Catholic is to pray, to observe, and to ask questions with charity. Not to accuse, not to divide, but to seek the truth, because the truth, as Christ said, will set us free.